Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of the Soup of the Day podcast. I've got a really cool guest with us today, a dear friend, a church planter pastoring in Acworth, Georgia, Cheno Echevarria.
you did good.
Did I get it? Did I get it?
You did good.
Okay, all right. Say it for me.
Echevarria.
Echevarria. Echevarria. All right. I meant to say that the first time.
I get it.
Hey, man, thank you for coming today. I'm so excited to spend some time with you, and glad you made it on time. That was awesome. You were running on Cuban time.
I feel like there was something hidden.
You
in that
knew
right
there was something going on right there, man.
I did good. I was here 15 minutes early. You were late.
Were you really? I was in my office talking. So I was working. Thank you for coming today, man. And it's good to see you. And I appreciate that 80s throwback jacket you got on too.
Go, baby. Yeah.
I remember those acid wash jeans and the jacket. Is that a vintage jacket or is that a new version?
Echevarria. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. Wow.
Dude, I got this from Plato's Closet. I have no idea what this
Plato's
is.
Closet.
It just looks amazing.
Okay.
I like it. Yeah.
But, okay, Cheno's a nickname, so your name is actually Ramses.
Exactly.
All right. Are you named after a family member or the Egyptian king?
Yeah, so funny story is my mom was like a witch doctor. A witch doctor is what Americans would understand the word, but it was a person who practiced witchcraft.
Are you kidding or are you making that up?
I'm dead serious. Told my mom, your son, there's something great. There's something that is going to be big inside of him. I need you to find a big name. And so she decided, hey, I'm going to find the biggest name I could find. And Ramses was, at that time, something that she was studying in university. So she went with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to,
but cool.
Well, yeah. So we're going to launch into your testimony. I'm familiar with it. We got a lot of people that are watching that don't know the story.
Yeah.
And you've had an incredible story, Cheno, and God has done amazing things. So you just threw this bomb out there because I didn't know anything about your mom.
Yeah.
But tell us, okay, how did you go from where you started to pastoring a large church there in Acworth?
Yeah, I guess the Reader's Digest version of it. Mom was in Cuba. In a moment, I think there was a lot of political unrest. Early 80s. Actually, it was in 1980. And so she actually burned the Cuban flag, got arrested. And then this time they had a thing called the Mariel boat lift, where they told them, if you want to leave, to all the people who were none of the good people. They took all the people that were in jail, had trouble. They were like, if you want to leave the island, you can. And so it was that or 33 years. And so my mom, pregnant with me, jumped on a raft and came over here. We ended up in Miami, but then they shipped us to New York. She was there for 2 years. I was born in New York, in Brooklyn, New York. It was actually a Haitian family that they helped my mom because it was a different time. You know what I mean? For my mom is whiter than you with green eyes and blonde hair, and so it's a different time to carry a little black baby down the street.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. She's whiter than me?
Whiter than you, sir.
That's impossible, but okay.
Yeah,
all right.
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah. So, So, at that time, it was just a little different. And so she ended up moving back to Miami. We kind of spent some time in Dallas, too, with my uncle, but then we ended up in Miami. And so, from there, it was just a tornado. Age 8 years old, got arrested 2 times, joined a gang, got kicked out of 2 different schools at that age. By the time I was 19 years old, at this point, I had been in jail 13 different times, bullet holes in my body, my neck ripped open. I was completely lost and inundated in the street life. We got in a big gang fight, age 19. And in that moment, remember 21-day arraignment went before the judge and he offered me 90 years as a plea bargain. He said, if you go to trial, then you'll get a life sentence. And in that moment, I remember going back to the dorm, sense of fear, a scared 19-year-old kid, like I'm going to lose the rest of my life. But it also was something different. I think I got to the moment where I was like, I need to change and I don't know how. And I was like, God, if I go to prison for the rest of my life or if I go home, because, the gang member says, I want to testify and I get to go home. I said, I just need to change. I just don't know how. And so I remember that day under some statewide linen sheets crying like a little baby, and then I remember getting out and one of my bunkies were like, hey, they're having a Bible study in the back. And the whole time I was there for 21 days, I was like, I'll never go to that Bible study. Those guys have, weird charges. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to be around those type of guys. Those are the only people in prison that like Jesus or that use God as a crutch. Everybody else has to fight and defend themselves. That day, I remember I went back there, probably 10:30. 11 o'clock at night. And I went back there to that room. It was a TV room, just a plexiglass. So if you can imagine just a big rectangle box, bunk beds on both sides, and in the middle some tables. And then all the way in the back, it was a TV room, had a plexiglass so that you wouldn't disturb people when you watch TV. And we would disturb people because we were Dolphin fans. We're still disturbing people, you know what I mean? Yelling at the TV. And so I remember that that day, man, it wasn't that I heard the gospel. It wasn't that I heard Jesus for the first time. I think it clicked for me. That I was like, yo, I've made mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, I've done some stupid stuff. But you're telling me that God wants me? Like, do you know who I am? Like, you know the mistakes I made. You know the things that I've done? And in that moment, something just clicked. And I had never read the Bible in Matthew. I read the Bible in 21 days one time. I'm telling you, from the beginning to the end, 21 days. I was a juvenile because I wanted to go home. I said, God, if I read this whole Bible from the beginning to the end, 21 days, I didn't come out my room and I read the entire Bible. But I wasn't listening or paying attention to it. I was just reading the words on a page and trying to get through it. But this time I started in Matthew, and it blew me away as I started to understand the story of Jesus. I literally would read a verse and read another verse and write. And I had this legal pad that I had filled with notes. I still have it, that I had filled with notes. Well, 5 months later, I'm teaching in that Bible study. They asked me to share a word in that Bible study. Wow. From there, I started a Spanish one, then an English one. Didn't get 90 years. We were in our Next Steps class, which is growth track membership. And I'm telling the story, and I said the 90 years part, and then I passed it. Keep going. And at the end, the dude tells me, hey, sir, can I ask a question? He said, so you got 90 years? I was like, no, bro. He's like, I thought you escaped or something. You know what I mean? Like, how are you here right now? Man, I ended up getting sentenced to 5 years in prison. Darkest, but the most brightest years of my life. I actually understood the assignment, the call over my life. 19 years old, I'm walking out of Bible studies thinking I want to do this for the rest of my life. I got some of the most dangerous people in the prison confiding in me. I'm leading people to the Lord. I started doing Christian hip hop. I started playing sports really well. So I'm like this in prison, which is hilarious to even say. But there was this pseudo popularity that I carried as the cool Christian kid that raps really good. Whenever they have talent show, he's winning, but he also plays on football in prison. You have 2,000 inmates. You have 32 NFL teams, right? You have positions, coaches. You have, practices. You have everything. You have Super Bowls. You have all-star games. Like, you have a regular season. You go into the dorm after you played and you go back to your dorms and you have your stats on the wall. It's hilarious. But, those guys don't have anything else to do. My quarterback and my wide receiver both ran 4.2s. These guys can touch the top of the backboard playing basketball. Like, it's just wild, the athletes that will never see the light of day again. And those guys are in there. And so, obviously we played sports. And so I played on a really good team, the best team. We went undefeated 2 seasons in a row. I played tight end. And it gave me the opportunity to be able to minister to people in such a way that it was just, I wasn't weird.
Wow.
And so, whatever. Got out of prison, 2004. Met my wife in a small little non-denominational, which means Pentecostal church. And then me and my wife, we thought to ourselves, man, we got to get educated. I want to go to college. Never done that. Got my GED in prison. And we ended up going to Peacemakers Leadership College with Pastor Rich Wilkerson in Miami, Florida. Yeah. And man, we both got our bachelors 2 weeks into being in school. My wife got a job at the church. And then a little while after that, Pastor Rich put me on staff, and we were there for 8 years. Then sometimes I still feel like I'm on staff there because I get called to do certain things on the dime. Always. And grateful, absolutely grateful as dad. And so, we were there for a while, and then we just felt the call over our life. We knew something was up. 19 years old, telling myself, like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I knew that one day I was going to start a church. My initial conversation with Pastor Rich when we first met was he telling me, I want to plant churches. And I'm telling him, that is my goal in life. I didn't even know churches started. I don't know how that works, but I want to do it. And I'm in. And one day we felt the bug. Went up to him and I told him, hey, man, I'll go as fast as you want or as slow as you want. I'll leave today if you want me to leave, or I'll leave in 5 years. But I need you to navigate this call with me. And about 1.5 years later, I was able to relinquish my position, raise some money, and then we moved up to Georgia.
Wow.
And here we are.
Wow.
We've been here for 9 years. The church is 8 years in August.
Okay. So we just unpacked an incredible testimony
Yeah.
in those few minutes. So I have so many questions.
Yeah.
One is, you mentioned your mom. You didn't mention a dad.
Yeah.
Has a dad been a part of your life at all?
At the very beginning, when they came, my dad came first, and my mom came. They were together for a little while, and then my dad split. So yeah, they weren't together.
So, Ray's, do you have any siblings? Any brothers or sisters?
So I have one sister. She was in Cuba. Came to the United States. She's living in Maine, which I don't know how Cubans live in Maine. You know what I mean? I don't know how that works. You know, our blood's too thin for that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay. Well, and so raised by mom, out on the streets, all this trouble. Did anybody at any time ever try to preach the gospel to you? Did anyone ever try to minister to you?
Dude, no, man. I that I can remember, it just wasn't normal in our. It was, you know, a lot of Hispanics, not being stereotypical, but a lot of Hispanics, they're Catholic, you know, and so we're like. You can be selling drugs, you know, killing people. You're like this mass murderer, and they ask you, you know, what religion? Oh, I'm Catholic. You know what I mean? And you do the whole deal. Like, it just, so there was never talk of religion. One time, a friend of mine invited me to a church. Went to the church. There were two girls that were cute as all get out. My first words that I said to the girl, did a backflip off a swing. Big deal. Did the backflip, landed in front of her, and I told her, do you want to be my girlfriend? First words, and then I never spoke to her after that again. That was the only experience I had with a Christian church. I didn't know the difference. And then there was another one in the neighborhood that they would buy us pizza and let us play basketball inside the gate. They wouldn't allow anybody in the gate until it was open for youth. And I remember going there, no clue what they said. I just went there for the pizza, and then spent my life from the age of 14 to 19 probably in jail. I could probably say half of my life, most of my grades, 6 months, 8 months, then 3 months, then a month, you know, like 13 different times. Those weren't periods where I went to jail and then got right back out. Those were periods that I spent in there 13 different times. Wow. And I remember that, I remember being in there, Don Bizarro. I wish I would have said his name at the beginning, because Don Bizarro would always talk to us about Jesus. He would come in, he would have Bible studies. I had no clue what he was talking about. He would just bring Coke. Remember the big 3-liter Ritz bottles? Yeah. He would bring the Ritz bottles, and then he would bring duplex cookies. And so I just went for the cookies and the sodas, but he used to talk to us about Jesus. Wow. Never, I don't think I really listened. You know what I mean? I was just there, but I did listen, because when I was in this last case that I caught when I was 19 years old, he was there as a chaplain. And I remember telling him, like, hey, I finally understood it. Like, I got it. And he kind of heard me. He was like, yeah, man, that's awesome, man. I'm glad. He didn't remember who I was. And everybody tells him in jail, you know what I mean? Jailhouse religion. But I really caught it. I actually reached out to his family and stuff afterwards. He passed away, but I told his daughter and his niece, and I told them, man, everything that God has done. Like, I bragged. I told them everywhere that I've traveled, the things that I've done. I told them everything. And then I said, I wanted you to hear that, because it was literally your dad that did this in my life. And so it was pretty
incredible.
Cool. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I want to put a pin in there for just a second and just talk about, when you mentioned that brother, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
That's it.
You're preaching and you feel like it's not landing, or you're ministering to people that you feel like aren't hearing. You never know. Yeah. Because the Holy Spirit's planting seeds during that whole time. Pastor, I want to encourage you. It may not seem like you're making headway, but you never know. Yeah. God's doing something great. And boy, for that gentleman to be able to look at you now and what you're doing in your community, we'll give God the glory. And I'll say this too, only Jesus can take you and put you in a pulpit with that kind of history, because all the statistics are against you.
Literally, absolutely.
I mean, just everything stacked against you. How many young men and women do we have out there with those very similar stories that can say, if it weren't for Jesus, you know, there's no telling where I'd be, and you'd probably still be in prison. So we rejoice at that. What an incredible testimony that God has done an incredible thing.
While I was living it, but it's cool now, right?
Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to say that word on the podcast. Can we edit?
John can't say that word. John can't say that word.
Say that word. All right, make sure you catch us for segment 2 of our podcast with Cheno. Wait, say that again.
Echevarria.
Cheno Echevarria. Catch us on the next one.
Let's go.